The winter is coming to a close as the short days and long cold nights transform into gorgeous evenings filled with sunshine and warmth, as the sound of the crack of the bat is our music of choice for the next 30 weeks. We look forward to another season of Mariners baseball. Whether hell or high water, we will be here each week to give you the Mariners news. Welcome back, Sogcast fans, and welcome back, baseball.
We're back!
Woo! Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. Welcome back, Sogcast fans. I'm Patrick.
I'm Matt.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Nate.
We are back. Baseball season is back. Spring training has started. We have another season upon us. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Let's go.
So happy to be back doing this for our third season of the Sogcast. Let's just hop right into it. The Mariners have made a ton of transactions over the long, cold, dark winter. It's not the same team that we had before. We lost some fan favorites. We got rid of some players we probably should have gotten rid of, and we're looking at a new roster. And first and foremost, no like AJ Pollocks or
Tommy
La
Stella
Stella that we have to pretend is going to help the team this year. I really like the moves that were made over the offseason. And yeah, a lot of good pieces got added. Although let's be real, we did lose some fan favorites out there.
Yeah, I mean, all we're really left with from last year is JP, Julio, Cal Raleigh, Ty France. That's kind of it. Everybody else is new.
Well, our pitching core is...
And the pitching core stayed pretty much
same.
Yeah,
rock
but
solid.
for like fielders and hitters and stuff, a lot of turnaround.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about who we gained and who we lost.
I'll say first and foremost, the saddest one, Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, that's the biggest bummer for sure.
The vibes of the team for sure.
That really sucked getting rid of him. Loved him, loved his energy, loved his play. For him to come through and fill Kyle Seager's shoes like he did, tall order, and he came through. But also, he struck out a ton.
Yeah, he led the league. It was like 215 strikeouts last year, something maybe higher. He struggled with his bat speed. He couldn't catch up to the high fastball. I mean, last year he didn't do what he did in the previous year, where he hit a lot of clutch home runs down the stretch. His OPS stayed higher. Like, he was able to slug the ball around the field a lot more. But this last year, he really struggled down the stretch when we needed it most. He couldn't stay consistent. He played a great third base. Honorable mention for Gold Glove. He played a very solid third base for his time here overall. And it was nice to have him there, and with the vibes that he brings to replace Kyle Seager for the last couple of years was cool. And this is a really big turnaround for the Mariners to part with a guy like that, and the vibes definitely feel different now.
And that is 215 at-bats that are not home runs. Like, imagine if those were home runs.
Yeah, just imagine.
Imagine if every strikeout was a bomb.
So he's definitely a defensive first third baseman for us.
Yeah, and I will say his
vibes through the roof.
Vibes and defense. And I thought his power numbers would be better during his time here, and it just wasn't. It does suck to see him leave. I understand why the Mariners did it, and, I'm not torn up about it. It does suck, but it's not, like, going to break me, that he's no longer here.
Yeah, he was kind of the odd man out in the core that the Mariners decided to keep together here. And, I mean, we got Suarez as kind of a salary dump when we got Winker, right? And Winker didn't pan out at all. He's long gone, and like we're already over the hill and far away from Winker. And Suarez ended up being a nice piece of that deal for the time that we had him, and we're able to move on from him and dump his contract again, and get pieces that we need. And we just couldn't have all those strikeouts. The Mariners moved on from Suarez, and they didn't offer Teoscar Hernandez the qualifying offer for whatever it was, around $20 million, and he ended up signing with the Dodgers. Lucky duck. But I mean, the Mariners definitely made an effort to cut down on their strikeouts
100%.
right away and get players that have a better bat to ball ratio at least.
Yeah, we should mention that we traded Gino Suarez to the D-backs for right-handed pitcher Carlos Vargas and catcher Sebi Zavala. That's who we got in return in that deal.
Also on today, Zavala played his first spring training game with the Mariners and had a nice showing. Had to strike him out, throw him out, double play. That was beautiful. And, expecting a lot of big things with him, especially another person that we lost over the season. Another one that really hurts, Tom Murphy.
Yep, one of my favorites.
Tom Murphy was amazing. We did lose. I hope Tom Murphy does amazing on the Giants. Mm-hmm. He kind of battled the injury bug a little bit the last, 2 years, and it really sucked that he couldn't reach his full potential. So I wish him the best, but it seems like the pickup that we have as our new backup catcher to Cal Rowley is, he's off to a hot start.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the Giants, we lost another player to the Giants.
Who would that be, Gary?
That is Robbie Ray.
Robbie Tight Pants Ray. Robbie walk-off home run in the playoffs Ray.
Robbie Cy Young winner Ray.
That's
not what we're talking about? Okay, sorry.
Our only left-handed starting pitcher, Robbie Ray.
But who'd we get in the trade? Mitch Haniger. Mitch Haniger is back in Seattle.
Welcome back, Mitch Haniger.
Mitch, let's go.
And not the only Mitch that's in Seattle anymore.
Oh, did they add another Mitch?
We got
Gary?
a Mitch Garver as well.
Mitch Garver, our Christmas present from Depoto.
That's right.
Yeah, we signed Garver right around Christmas Eve there, and
Yep,
that
he
was
was a
the
free agent signing.
Yeah, that was big for the Mariners to sign a free agent that is an everyday player, offensive punch in a lineup. Even though he's like 33 years old, I'm 33 years old, and I feel like Mitch Garver's got a lot left in the tank for sure. That dude can still mash.
Also, he's announced he is going to be our DH. The Mariners have an official every single day DH, which is something we have been lacking for a year. We've been platooning DHs. That's
I'm so happy about that. After the last few years of muddling through, 3-4 DHs, platooning, like really our true first time we've had a true pencil in every day at DH since Nelson Cruz. And ironically, Mitch Garver is our first free agent signing to a multi-year contract since Nelson Cruz as well.
Which is amazing. The Mariners front office decided to sign a multi-year free agent. Like that is good news, I think. Even though it's just Mitch Garver, like they weren't going all the way up the chain to the high price, like shiny stars that are out there on the market, especially the Boris agent, like players out there that are demanding a huge ask. Like Matt Chapman is still out there for a ton. But anyway, we ended up getting Mitch Garver for a fair price.
I feel like at the very least it shows like a commitment, to try to have that spot locked up for a handful of years. And what he signed 4 years, 3 years?
Yes.
But showed a commitment to it at least. Gonna stick with it for hopefully, the length of his contract, and hopefully that pans out well. So I do like to see the commitment to the bit rather than, okay, we're gonna roll out, 2-3 DHs this year.
Mike Ford and Sam Haggerty can split time at DH.
Sam Haggerty should never play DH in his life. Even it's just not part of his game. He was like a speedy utility guy, and we would have him start at DH. And that was a big hole in the Mariners game. So it's nice that is another slot that was filled. DH, official, day in and day out, Mitch Garver.
To make it clear, Mitch Garver's contract is a 2-year, $24 million deal, and 26 is a mutual option. So it could be a 3-year contract, but it's definitely 2 with a mutual option after that.
So I was almost right.
Yeah, it's a very nice contract for the Mariners, honestly. I really like it. That's like $12 million a year for a DH, and a guy who, like I said, is aging, but has proven that he can hit the ball. Every year he plays, his OPS plus is over 100. He has power. He mashes lefties. It's perfect for what the Mariners need to get their lineup somewhat settled, so there's not as many moving pieces. And I really love having an offensive player that's in there every day and is expected to perform.
Also, it's so weird the Mariners platooning DHs in the past couple seasons. Because, like, all right, one, the DH, the only job is to hit. And you need regular at-bats. And if you have a DH playing for 2 games and then he sits on the bench for 4 or 5, like, it just doesn't make any sense. It was very poor lineup management, I believe, in the past few seasons. So the fact that this box is checked off, everyday DH, boom, put that in the plus column. We've got that settled. Another big off-season loss. Well, big comparing the.
Should we touch on Mitch Haniger since we kind of mentioned the other Mitch at the same time?
Yeah, let's talk about Mitch.
The tale of 2 Mitches begins with one Mitch and ends with the other.
So what do you guys expect from Mitch Haniger? Is he going to be like mostly starting right field for the Mariners this year?
I expect
For like
our opening
59
day
games.
opening day starting right fielder. Unfortunately, we know his track record. He is gonna miss games with injury. You know, he takes care of himself very well. He unfortunately just has that weird injury bug. It always seems to be like core injuries, kind of hip, groin area injuries. He does train very hard, and I don't have any doubts that he is trying to be prepared to play 162 games. I don't see that in right field. Maybe some combination of he'll play right field for 4 or 5 days in a row, maybe sit out or DH or pinch hit for a couple games in a row, and then I could realistically see him playing 145-ish games for us.
That's pretty much a full season.
And that, yeah.
So you're expecting him to be out there most days while he's healthy. You don't think the Mariners are going to try to like platoon him to make sure that he stays healthy?
Well,
running him out
I think
there?
they will, and I think that's why he'll be, optimistic wise 145, probably more realistic about 120, 125-ish games. But because I think they will kind of swap him out. They'll do some funky lineup stuff because we do have a lot of, outfield bats off the bench that we'll get to later. But
I think Mitch Haniger has shown time and time again that when he is healthy, he is in the top tier of baseball players. His defense isn't otherworldly, but it's serviceable. It's, good. He's got decent enough range. He's got decent enough arm. He's fine out there in right field. Phenomenal hitter. Amazing hitter. Really, and comes through in the clutch moments.
In his last season with us, he hit like 30 home runs.
Yeah. The
39
home runs.
The only problem in Mitch Haniger's game is that he just cannot stay healthy. And it's not even his fault. It's not like Nate said, he takes good care of his body. It's not like he's constantly getting pulled hamstrings or sore shoulders from just not taking enough care of his body. He gets weird stuff like oblique issues or ruptured testicles or, all of this crazy stuff. And just it curses some people with the injury bug. Another famous example of a Mariner with that was Franklin Gutierrez, one of the best defensive center fielders I've ever seen. He's up there with Mike Cameron and Ken Griffey Jr., but unfortunately for Gutierrez, he also just could not stay healthy, and it was always freak accidents. It was always the weirdest stuff that would injure him. So I'm happy that we got Haniger back. I want him to just fully come back, be a part of the team, and be an impact player right away. But I do think we have to be realistic that he's going to go down with an injury at some point. I mean, look at even his time in San Francisco, where he left the Mariners, went to the San Francisco Giants, played the first month of the season, was doing great, got hit by a pitch in the arm, broke his arm, and he missed the rest of the season.
That was just last year. We're only like 1 year removed because he hurt himself in 22 when he was with the Mariners, and we ended up trading him then or like after that or whatever happened. Maybe he was a free agent after that.
We didn't sign him. Yeah, he was a free
he was
agent
a free
after the
agent. That's
offseason.
right. So he ended up getting hurt, and he was a free agent. And then he only played 61 games with the Giants, and then broke his arm getting hit by a pitch, which is so Mitch Haniger. Well, despite his knack for all these unique injuries and everything, we just hope for the best because, like Garrett was saying, when he plays a full season, he's so good. Like we're all saying, where like his OPS plus is always over 100 when he's putting enough plate appearances in. He hits for power. He hits for contact. He doesn't strike out a ton. He's a great offensive piece to have, and he is good enough in right field. It's not like, I don't know, he's not the best. He takes good routes. He kind of has a long release on his throw. It takes him a minute to get the ball in sometimes, but like he's good out there. Better than what we saw Teoscar do last year. Absolutely.
Teoscar was abysmal in the outfield.
So, I just feel like Mitch Haniger is a Mariner. And having him back is really good for the fan base because we were departing from guys like Eugenio Suarez. At least we have a lovable Mitch Haniger back and two Mitches to root for, which is going to be really fun. I don't know. They're going to have some fun double Mitch extravaganza or whatever. It's going to be fun.
There will be a bobblehead or something, I'm sure. But yeah, that 2021 season of Mitch Haniger was pretty special. He was healthy the entire season, played over 140 games or whatever, and he
157 games.
157.
Damn.
Yeah,
he had
39 bombs.
39 bombs, almost 40 in a season. And he kept us in the fight at the end. That's the thing about Mitch. Like, he does have that fight in him. He had that go-ahead. I'm sure we all remember second to last game of the season. He had that go-ahead RBI.
Clutch.
Won us that game. Gave us
God.
that little hope the season before we finally pushed through and clinched. Gave us that little bit of hope going into the last game of the season that we could win it. And didn't work out that season. Unfortunately, our playoff year, he was hurt at the end there. So it is good to have him back. Hope to see him have another playoff run with us.
Very happy with both Mitches.
In that same trade with the Giants, we got Haniger and we also got Descalfani, which ended up not panning out. We traded him to the Twins.
Yeah, I figured Desclafani would be like a middle relief, maybe long relief type guy if we had him at all.
Or like a spot starter.
Yeah, maybe a spot starter. But it didn't fit in very well, so I'm glad that
We turned around, we flipped him and Justin Topa to the Twins and acquired Jorge Polanco.
Is that all-star second baseman Jorge Polanco?
That is the same Jorge Polanco, yeah.
Wow.
So that's good.
Yeah.
We have a second baseman.
Is that 35-year-old Jorge Polanco, if I'm not correct?
I believe you're correct.
let me pull that shit up real quick there, Nate. Jorge Polanco is a huge addition for the Mariners. When's the last time we've had a second baseman that we can trust to be offensively producing?
Is this Adam Frazier a racer?
I think so. It's not Adam Frazier 3.0. It's not Colton Wong. It's not D. Gordon.
Center fielder D. Gordon.
I think Jorge Polanco has established himself as a pretty solid player in this league. The problem with him is he needs to stay on the field as well, because when he plays a full season, he's killing it. But he has his fair share of injuries too, and half seasons as well. So let's see. His age, he is 30 years old. Well, they're almost 31 years old.
Okay.
But with his injuries, I feel like that.
They added a couple years. I know. So he is on the younger side. Especially there's some baseball players that don't even reach their prime till like 32, 33. If he's on the upswing, if he can stay healthy, I don't have a problem defending this guy like we had to do with La Stella in spring training of last year and being like, he's
all right. He's pretty good.
He's good. Yeah, he could be serviceable.
It's a nice addition.
He doesn't just have the flashes like Listella did. We're like hoping for the best flash of him. Like he does have a proven track record of being a above solid second baseman.
Oh yeah, offensively especially, he's a switch hitter. He has put up OPS plus of 125, 115, 115 the last 3 years, which that's better than league average by a small, a big enough margin that it's it's good. An 826 OPS, 751, 789 OPS. That's good.
Yeah.
He hits homers. He hits doubles.
Yeah, anywhere
He's
you're around
clutch.
that eight OPS, that's pretty good.
Hitting from both sides of the plate at near equal rate too. I think his batting average is only like 1 or 2 points different from the left or right side of the plate. Like it doesn't matter which side of the plate, he's good from both. So even though he might not be the best defensive second baseman we've had in a while, that's okay. I'd rather he's gonna make the routine play. I'd rather have the offense than the defense right now.
I feel like the days of the defensive second baseman are kind of gone by the wayside. Like it is more about that's kind of one of the premier offensive positions you want now. Like the days of like Dustin Pedroias or what was that dude on the Orioles a long time ago?
Mike Bordick.
No, it was like Ryan something, but like
McMahon.
Yeah, but the like super special defensive second baseman, like it's kind of you can lack defensively at that position. Okay, if you OPS plus over 110, you're fine.
I had to watch half a season of Adam Frazier trying to turn double plays at second. I will take average defense at second base
Absolutely.
over trying to watch Adam Frazier with the slowest transfer I have ever seen in my life. It was crazy. We lost so many potential double plays because Adam Frazier was out there pulling the ball out of molasses. Like, I will take serviceable average defense at second base. Also, again, it shows another checkbox the Mariners needed: everyday second baseman. We had it, even last year when Rojas was starting to get more playing time at second,
Towards the end,
he was still getting semi-platooned with Moore, Caballero, Haggerty. It was still, we didn't have an everyday second baseman. So again, just like DH, we filled a need that this team like had a gap in. And so check that off.
Boy, we had gaps coming into the offseason.
We did. And it was
looking rough, and they really went out there and got players. They filled some spots for us in a big way with almost no money to work with.
The only one I'm still sketchy about is third base. I feel like we did not properly replace Suarez. I mean, what do we got right now? We got projected some kind of platoon between / competition for starter between Luis Urias and Josh Rojas now is projected to slide from second to third with the pickup of Polanco.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting. Going to be a significant downgrade at defense.
That's
for
gonna
sure.
suck, man. Like I got so used to having such a lockdown third baseman.
I mean, it's been what,
For the
12 years?
15 plus years. We had 10 years of Kyle Seager, 2 years of Suarez.
And one ball gets through and everyone's gonna be like, come on, this guy can't play third base. And we're like, dude,
the way the Mariners have been playing the field, the way they shift their defense, like they have JP play up the middle and they have the third baseman shift over towards shortstop a lot, especially when there's left-handed hitters, which there's going to be a lot of left-handed hitters against the Mariners' right-handed pitching staff. So we're going to see a lot of lefties. They're going to shift their infield over just about as far as it'll go, and you'll see guys like Urias or Rojas kind of playing that third base shortstop hole rather than having to make those plays, down the line. So the Mariners have been playing their third baseman like that for a while and shifting JP up the middle like that a lot because he's better that way. I don't know. But that's why third base defense isn't as important as it was because they do that so often. That's been their philosophy is right-handed pitching against left-handed hitting, and they expect the lefties to pull a lot more. So they're not as reliant on that ball down the line being snagged, like diving plays in foul territory and stuff like that. So I'm not too worried, and I don't know. We don't know. We don't know about their defense at third base. We haven't seen either of them play third base. Urias
still
or
a bit
Rojas.
of a question mark at third base, but
who knows?
It can't be that bad, right?
I mean, yeah, they're young, they're athletes. I think they're going to be fine. I'm worried more about what kind of production offensively we're going to get from Urias, but I don't know. It's tough when there's a guy like Chapman out there on the market. You know, he's expensive, but it's nice to have a rock at third base, and it's weird that that's our spot that's loose now. But we did fill a couple gaps that we really needed to, and I'm okay with platooning one of our 4 positions in the infield.
Sure.
And also, I like Rojas at the plate. I thought he did awesome in his at-bats last year, especially near the end of the season when he was getting more regular playing time. I thought Rojas was a great kind of under-the-radar guy for us. And so if he gets a lot of those reps and that game time at third base, I'm expecting a big season from him. It's not going to be Suarez or Kyle Seager defense, and it's going to be a shock to see because we've had over a decade of literally top-tier third base defense. But if we trade an occasional error for, 70 less strikeouts, I think I can live with that.
Sure. I did like Rojas' at bats a lot last year after we got him from the D-backs. But yeah, and we're just going to have to live with the fact that, a little slow hit kind of ground ball to third base, that's not going to be a for sure out anymore when we're so used to it being between Kyle Seager, and then Suarez was great at those kind of charging in.
One of the best I've ever seen.
Kind of, especially against lefties, like that little weird like dribbler that's kind of fading away from you to come in, bare hand, throw to first. That used to be an out. Now that's gonna probably be a hit.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got all spring training to work on that, so we'll see what happens, but I'm expecting those to be a hit a lot more, and we're just gonna have to shore up some things more pitching and defensive wise to make sure that those little cheap hits don't turn into runs. So
Yep. Got rid of the world's most accurate bazooka to save some strikeouts.
That dude was...
Man, I loved Gino.
Yeah, he was awesome.
I miss
He was
him
fun.
already.
I do miss him.
Let's just trade for him when the Diamondbacks are sucking halfway through the season. Get him back.
Yeah, get Seawald back while we're at it. Too.
Yeah.
What else we got there, Garrett?
Well, we dumped a lot of contracts, and a huge one was a trade we made with the Braves.
Oh yeah.
We traded Jared Kelenic, Evan White, and Marco Gonzalez for a couple of right-handed pitchers. We got Cole Phillips and Jackson Kowar. I got high hopes for Jackson Kowar.
This was a strange trade. At first, it didn't look great because it seems like we're not getting a lot back, right? And it came out that we gave them money too, but
Yeah.
Like-
So it wasn't even necessarily a salary dump because we also threw money in their direction.
we threw them the cash for pretty much White and Marco's contract, and then they flipped that. The Braves flipped that and sent Marco to the Pirates with the cash that we gave them for Marco's contract. They sent that to the Pirates as well to cover Marco's contract.
I'm thinking that's for just this season, right? Because we had Marco for this year and one more year, I think, or something like that, or there's an option included. But what they're doing is dumping the contracts we have, especially Evan White's, because we had Evan White signed up through 2028 or something like that.
Yeah, we were paying that guy a lot of money to not play Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
he
like
literally
7 or 8
had,
mil.
since the shortened COVID season, he had not even cracked the Major League roster, and we were paying him abhorrent amounts of money to just hang out in Tacoma.
Yeah.
I do think he was a good player, but his string of injuries after we signed him up just absolutely tanked everything for his future. So we had to do something to dump that contract, and at the same time, we didn't need Marco anymore. We had our young guns come up. We still have more.
Been saying this shit
And
for
finally,
a couple years now.
yeah, finally we don't have to talk about Marco starts and be pissed off about how he's our starter, our fifth starter every.
Yeah, no, that's something I'm excited about.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a good trade. It looks bad optically because the Braves are smart and are trading from a place of strength. They're just taking contracts and flipping them and getting the piece that they wanted, which was Jared Kelenic, because they're able to put Kelenic on their bench and use him accordingly, let him play a role on the team, but not be an everyday player and not put that pressure on him. He's able to play a different role on a team rather than the Mariners who were expecting him to play next to Julio Rodriguez and be the second coming. You know what I mean? So there's a lot less pressure on him there than there was here, and they're willing to take that chance on him, where the Mariners, we don't need to be taking that chance anymore. We've done that. We sent him up and down. We
Plenty
played
of
him.
chances.
He kicked a cooler and broke his foot and like didn't, that didn't help at all. So, I mean, I'm okay with parting from Jared Kelenic. I wish that he would have broken out this season and really been a staple for us, but we have many other options in the wings here, and I'm okay with dumping those salaries to move on from that prospect type guy who is still a coin flip.
Also, I want to say about Jared Kelenic, we on the pod have talked extensively about him being a locker room cancer, and nothing was 100% proven, nothing made it out to the media like for certain, like he is a problem in the clubhouse. That has never been said. But it seemed like between the lines, you could kind of tell there was an issue there with his attitude and just like being a detriment to the team, just personality wise.
Yeah, it's clear. He threw a tantrum every time he struck out.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's him like against other players. That's they're not. That's probably not
he's fighting
personality
himself,
stuff.
but still, that's bad vibes.
I think it
It's
was him
him
against
versus himself.
I think it was him against ownership and management more than
too.
anything. I mean, pretty much since he came up, he was one of the players mentioned in that Kevin Mather scandal thing that got released about manipulating
Club.
service time and stuff and underpaying players. So I think he just kind of had a bad bug for it from the beginning. Not at all to say he didn't try hard. I can honestly say I think that dude tried his ass off every time he put on a Mariners uniform. He did have his anger issues, but I'd rather that than like a player like we've had in the past, like Dustin Ackley or Eric Bedard or Cliff Lee, that like actively wanted to not play for the Mariners.
Yeah.
I'd rather a dude like care that much than not. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think that trade kind of came out win-win. I think he's going to have a good career in Atlanta. They know how to produce hitters for sure. That lineup, Fuchs,
Yeah,
they go hard. He's going to get a lot of fastballs to hit down there with the guys that are around him. He's going to get everyday opportunities, and he's probably going to sign an extension for a good team-friendly contract because that's what the Braves do, and he's probably going to go to the playoffs. And
I was reacting to maybe clubhouse cancer isn't the right word, but like he is detrimental to the team because he's battling himself. He's not in the right mood. He's not cohesive with the team. He's kind of an island. So anyway, that's where I was going with that.
Right, but think about this. He was one of the highest touted prospects in baseball, and the Mets let him walk. They were able to part with him, and he wasn't even the big name in the trade. Right, because it was with Edwin Diaz, Robinson Cano, that big trade a couple years ago. So the Mets were just letting one of like a top 10 prospect in baseball walk. That's kind of you don't see anything from that like on its own. But then then he comes to the Mariners. And the issues are still happening. He had his run-ins with the team and with ownership, with management. So now at 23, 24 years old and one of the top prospect in baseball, he's now on his third team. That doesn't happen on accident. That doesn't happen if you feel like this guy is putting in the work. Not saying that he's not putting in the work on his own, but just that he's not a benefit to the team overall. I will compare it to another player like Trevor Bauer, even before the whole scandals and all that crap. But Trevor Bauer was a Cy Young award-winning pitcher that found himself on a new team every 1 to 2 years. And that was just because he was notoriously difficult to get along with and to work with. And teams didn't care how good he was. They just wanted him off the team. And Kelenic doesn't have the awards like Trevor Bauer did. Trevor Bauer won a Cy Young and still got shipped off from his team. Teams didn't want to deal with him. Kelenic is the same thing. Highly touted prospect. All the talent in the world, could potentially be something, but teams just don't want to put up with the headache of dealing with him. 3 teams before you're 25, that's not a good sign, and that shows that there's something happening behind the scenes.
All great points. What I'll say about the Kelenic trade is that I think we're going to see a lot of Mariners fans, and I want to talk directly to the Mariners fans right now, they're going to see Kelenic perform well in Atlanta and be like, see, the Mariners fucked up by trading this guy. And it's like, no. Exactly what Matt was saying. He had so much pressure on him here to be the guy, play right next to Julio, when in Atlanta, he isn't the guy. He's a guy, and
Right.
he gets to be a guy and progress that way. He's going to sign an extension, just like you said, Nate.
As
He's
the
gonna have
resident Braves fan, they are a great friggin'
And
team.
all he has to do
Yeah.
is play Eddie Rosario's role from last year, which he's going to do just fine. You platoon left field, and you hit some bombs when they need you to.
He's going to be their
steal a
Eddie
base.
Rosario of this year. The Eddie Rosario was the past 2 years. I mean, he had 14 hits against the Dodgers in the 2022 NLCS or whatever.
He was going
and
off.
that's going to be Kelenic. We're going to see him in the playoffs in that lineup, just absolutely mashing. And that's not at all to say like he didn't fit this team.
Absolutely.
He
I
wouldn't
don't
have
want to
fit
hear
here.
it from Mariners fans that, we should have never traded him. Dude, it wasn't working out here. It's going to work out great for him in Atlanta. He's going to have a banger career, and best of luck to him.
Yeah, and Garrett, you've said that from the beginning. Like when the trade and stuff happened, you're like, even if he does show out and like becomes a star player, it was not going to happen in Seattle. It didn't fit well here. And, sometimes that's the case. And yeah, I agree. Like if Kelenic breaks out and stuff, good for him, whatever. But it was not going to happen in a Seattle Mariners jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, last thing I want to say about Kelenic is like he kind of has golden child problems. Like he always succeeded all the way up to when he hit the major leagues. He never had those trials and tribulations of like being good and bad and learning and going through those things. He never took his lumps going through the minors because he just raked.
Crushed AAA.
So then when he hit the majors, it's like the highest pressure, and now he's taking his lumps at the highest level under the highest scrutiny, and just
that's tough,
just
man.
getting
For a young kid like
ripped
that.
apart, man. And he had to go get a psychologist, you know what I mean? He had to go see sports psychologist to really try to hone it in, and he couldn't hold it all together here. It's too much pressure. And like hopefully he does well. I like all the best, whatever. But and yeah, he is going to do well down there. There's no
It's going to work out
no
fine.
doubts.
He's going to, like I said, he's going to see a lot of fastballs there. He wasn't going to ever really see that here, being pretty much the second guy to Julio, as you've all mentioned. Like, you could kind of pitch around him, throw him sliders, change-ups. He can't hit anything off speed. We know that. We've seen that for 3 years.
Yeah, they could sequence him up really well. Even if they do throw that fastball, it's not when he's expecting it. Like, they were able to sequence him too well, and he's still learning, man. The Braves will help him out, and he's in the right spot down there to perform. But we can move on. We ended up getting rid of some other pitchers too, right? Our relief pitching core has kind of taken a little hit and shake up.
We've definitely gotten rid of a ton of relievers. Isaiah Campbell is one who I never saw the potential. I did not like him from the jump. So that was one. When he was gone, I celebrated. I never liked Campbell. Another one, no ill will, do well. I think he's on like the Reds now or something. Doesn't really matter.
Red Sox?
Actually, I think it is the Red Sox.
We got him we traded him for like Urias, and is that part of the Urias trade?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, he's on the Red Sox now. We got Urias, who will hopefully do more for us than one of our many relief pitcher core, And Isaiah Campbell, he showed a little bit of promise last year, but he wasn't the guy, So
Yeah, he was fine.
I'm okay with him going to the Red Sox and trying it out there.
I'm not really
I'm celebrating.
I'm not really
glad he's
ever
gone.
I'm not really ever too sad about losing relievers in the off season or during the season, other than the Paul Sewald one we discussed at length at the end of last season on the pod.
He was a
Don't need to
rock,
get
yeah.
into that again. It's last season. I already talked about it, but yeah, losing relievers, like honestly, I see most of them the same way Patrick sees Isaiah Campbell. Like, they are finicky. They can have the best season, I mean, we Drew Steckenrider, 3 years ago.
Oh my god,
What?
yeah.
Oh my god.
We're
he's
like,
gonna
oh my god, this is the next greatest relief
Reliever.
pitcher in the history of baseball, and then he just didn't have it the next year. It fell apart, parted ways. Absolutely didn't hurt us at all losing him. Like that's how relievers go. Like I'm sorry, they're finicky. I'm not gonna ever be sad about or dwell on losing or gaining relievers in the offseason.
I know what Patrick is about to say, and I want to preface it a little bit. There was that season where all of our relief pitchers had the last name starting with S. Steck, Swarzak,
Seawald.
Sadler, Seawald.
Sadler,
yeah.
There was just a ton of them, and they were just like the S core.
Yeah, and a perfect example of relievers being finicky. I mean, and the Mariners, more than anyone, can take a random reliever and turn them great. But you never know when they're just going to fall off a cliff. Perfect example is Casey Sadler.
Yep.
The dude had a phenomenal, 20 appearance streak without allowing an earned run. And then, unfortunately, he got Tommy John surgery. So we lost him for an entire year. And he was supposed to be coming back last year. He was supposed to be healed up, healthy, and just fell into the void and just disappeared. He never cracked the major league roster again and is just gone. And, like Nate says, you're never going to lose sleep over a reliever. It's not the end of the world to just lose an average innings eater guy. No matter how good they are or how good they seem, they are relievers, and they will do good one year, and they will fall apart the next. So losing a Campbell, losing a Topa. We lost Topa. That kind of sucks, and I was sad to see Topa go.
Topa was locked down last year.
He was.
And it does suck to see him go, but yeah, like you said, you never know. They're so volatile.
Yes.
Penn
Yeah.
Murphy was pretty good last year. He's gone too, and it's okay to move on from those guys. We do still have a lot of really good relievers in our pen. We picked up Carlos Vargas. We picked up Gregory Santos. We picked up Jackson Kowar, Austin Voth. All these dudes are really good pitchers. And we still have our two lefties, Gabe Spire and Taylor Saucedo, who can hopefully hold it down.
I'm a Gabe the Babe truther. I really
love
like
Gabe.
Gabe the Babe.
I'm learning to love Saucedo a little bit too. I like Taylor.
He's
good
a fun guy. He's
Yeah.
a fun guy. He's good.
I did beef with Fettuccine Alfredo Saucedo last year. I
Yeah.
wasn't the biggest fan.
I like him.
He's good, man. We need him against lefties. We can't just have one lefty back there. He's a big part of our bullpen, even though he's a specialist kind of guy. He has a funky little arm angle, and I like what he does. I hope that he can take another stride forward and be there this year and prove that he is a lockdown lefty specialist.
And that's
out
the
there.
thing with the relievers too. Like, yeah, we remember a handful of Saucedo blown games last year, but how many games do we? You remember like the bad games of relievers. You don't remember the good games as much. Like, how many times did Saucedo come in that we don't even think about, where he just held it down? Yeah, he blew a few games, but
Good middle reliever.
I'd argue that he came in and just kind of held it down quietly, and we may have not even watched or paid attention that game and just held it down.
Nate, I really like that point you just made. And a perfect comparison of that is like NFL kickers. When kickers
yes.
hit 3 field goals in a game
No
and
one
they
cares.
win,
Right
it
on.
just happens.
Our team
But-
won.
Yeah, that's all. You don't focus on that. You don't pay attention because they went out there and did their job.
What happens
But
when they miss field goals?
they could miss one kick in the second quarter, and you're just like, oh, that cost us the game. That's why we lost.
Yep, and it's all on them.
Yes, middle
team played great,
relievers
the
are the
kickers
kickers.
suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
And-
hit 16 of 17 field goals this season, but it's all his fault.
but it's the one. It's the one.
The
miss.
one that he missed.
Yeah, Nate, and that's a perfect thing of they go out and they do their job. You don't even notice. You don't pay attention. They just go out and do it. But there's one game where maybe he blows like a 2 or 3 run lead, and that's what you remember. That's what you focus on.
And I feel like that's also a product of our, combination of last year, our offense being absolutely anemic and not present for 3 quarters of the season. you don't remember. You remember the games that he blew that we didn't come back from, but you don't remember the games that he maybe gave up a run in the 6th inning and we came back with 3 runs in the 7th and ended up winning that game.
I'll just go over his stats from last year. I mean, he had a 3.59 ERA, which is pretty solid. That's 52 games, 47.2 innings, 41 hits, 20 runs. He only gave up 2 home runs. That's really nice. 43 strikeouts.
But I remember those two.
Those were 2 losses, 2 games.
His ERA plus
If
113.
he didn't give up those 2 home runs, we could have made the postseason.
113 ERA plus as a reliever. That's good. I mean,
That's really good.
I don't read too much into relievers' ERAs because 3.59 as a starter, that would be a little borderline getting concerning. But relievers with their sample size. It's a little bit different.
Yeah,
100%.
And you have to remember, like, under 4 ERA is a very serviceable pitcher. Like, if it's 4, 4.5 to 5, then you're like, this guy's not getting it done. But that's a good ERA, honestly. His strikeout per 9, 8.1, and his strikeout to walk ratio is 1.87. So it's like almost 2 walks, or almost 2 strikeouts per walk, I think. Is that what that means? Yeah. He doesn't give up much homers. He's in there to face lefties. Let's just say that. I mean, there's going to be left-handed parts of lineups that he's going to have to come in and hold it down, and he did last year. If he does that again, I'm happy. He's a middle reliever to get it to the back end where Brash, Munoz, and the Spire's the more higher leverage lefty. So he's just there to get the ball to the higher leverage arms later down the line.
Yep, the 3 of us have work to do this season. We got to convince Patrick that Saucedo is dope. It shouldn't be hard.
I think he's got to be dope.
He's got to prove it to me.
Watch.
I hope so. I hope Fettuccine Alfredo Saucedo does great.
You were calling him Saucenado for a while, which is really funny. I love the image of a saucy tornado.
Can we maybe spin our talk about lefty relievers to our starting pitching class this year and the fact that we have no lefties? We have all righties, but all look like dudes so far, if I'm not getting too far ahead of myself.
No,
I don't think you are at all.
I mean, and it's funny. It's like one of the things that we don't even talk about as much because we are so used to just this dominant starting core that we had. I mean, let's be real. Our worst starter was Marco Gonzalez, who is now gone. We have a fantastic starting. I mean, I would put money down on the Seattle Mariners having the best 1 through 5 starting rotation in all of baseball. And I think it, because we spend less time on it, because like it's just not something that we're thinking about because they are so dominant, because we have a great young core. They are a top of the line rotation in baseball. And if you want to argue not one, you can't argue that they're not top 3. They are one of the best, and it's the biggest strengths of this Mariners ball club.
Yeah, fully
if not
agree,
the
man.
biggest strength.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
if our worst pitcher the past 2 years was Marco, he over the past 2 years had an under 4 ERA, which is like kind of the mark for like decent good pitcher.
Right
Obviously,
around 4.
he's not a freaking ace. He's not Luis Castillo. He's not going to go out and post a 2.5 ERA or whatever. But under 4 is your 5th starter. Like, dude, you cannot ask for a lot better than that.
I had those days last year where I had to defend Marco and be like, but look at his last 6 starts. Like, this is serviceable. And like, obviously it looks like shit compared to all of our other like ace level pitchers or up and coming, like really good pitchers. He looked bad, but he was serviceable. But yeah, I mean, replacing him, but we have a fully right-handed rotation, which is fine. Luis Castillo is an ace. He can pitch against left-handed and right-handed guys. He's got movement in both directions, 2 fastballs, nasty slider. He's something else. His changeup is awesome too. George Kirby just doesn't walk anybody. It's impossible to walk more than 2 guys in a game for him, and like maybe he doesn't walk anybody most of the time, honestly.
Early
Sleeper
but Cy Young contender.
Cy Young contender for sure.
George Kirby, I will go out and say this. I don't even care like home bias or whatever. I think George Kirby has the best control and command in all of baseball. When you lose your mind when he has 2 walks in a start, like it's
Like
crazy.
he's off today.
Yeah. That's his second walk of the game. He must not be feeling it. The dude is phenomenal. It's not uncommon for a top of the line ace to walk 3 hitters in a game. For it, George Kirby will have multiple starts without walking a single batter. And there's still some still some improvements to be made in his overall stuff. It's not like he's the best pitcher in baseball, but he's up there. He's in the conversation. He's incredibly young, and his command is the best in baseball. The dude does not miss the strike zone, and if he does, it's on purpose. The dude knows how to paint corners. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's an artist out there, and you can watch it every single one of his starts.
I don't encourage gambling, but if you have a spare like $10, it might be worth it throwing it on George Kirby to win Cy Young. Head to the casino right now. The odds are good for it, and he is projected like early season projections, like top 5 Cy Young finisher right now.
It's
not a bad bet to place.
This doesn't sound like a bad bet.
You could turn those $10 into like $50.
This episode brought to you by.
No.
For real, hit us up.
And we just got canceled.
Yeah, good. Say goodbye to that sponsor.
If you're gonna put $10 on George Kirby, you might as well put 10 on Logan Gilbert as well. Like, those 2 dudes are ace pitchers, man. In other rotations, they could be number 1 starters, I think. So we have 3 number 1 starters and then 2 young guns, which I love, man. This is great.
Finish up.
I listen to a whole bunch of, national podcasts, baseball podcasts. It's not just hometown bias that these guys are good and awesome and the best. Like, they are one of the best rotations, hands down. Everyone knows it. Everyone says it. They're a top 3 or 5 rotation in the entire major leagues. They have so much potential. Like, they're only going up. And also, I mean, what more can you ask for? What more can you ask for except for a lefty? Like, those guys there's so many different types of weapons in our rotation that it's hard to think that they're going to be anything other than elite this year.
Yeah, and I just saw an article today actually speaking about our young guys. I don't have it pulled up, but apparently during the offseason when there was talk of Bryce Miller and Brian Wu potentially being trade candidates, apparently Julio actually went to the Mariners and went to bat for them pretty much and was like, don't trade them, like they're dudes. I
read that too.
I
saw that.
If Julio believes in them, give them a shot. Let's let them ride out they've never had a full season of starts between them. Let's see how they work out. I mean, if your worst case is a couple of second year guys in your 4th and 5th spots putting up decent numbers, I just expect them to be serviceable to above serviceable this year, and that would be a huge win for us, not only this year but going forward, proving that they have what it takes to kind of back end this already stacked starting 5 that we have.
Also, real quick, I just want to say, good job from the Mariners front office to listen to Julio. You want your young star that's going to be here for the next 15 years to be happy with the team around him. So the fact that they took his opinion into account, I mean, who knows how much they were really willing to shop him or whatever. It's all behind the scenes stuff. But the fact that that Julio was like, nah, we need these young guys, and they listened, that's a good sign.
I'm very happy that they didn't trade either of those guys. That was one of the things that we were talking about towards the end of last season even. It's like, well, we have to trade from our pitching to get those big batters in our lineup. And we didn't go get a top of the line bat for those guys or anything, but we filled in the gaps that we needed to with pieces that are good enough, that are cost controlled, that are controlled over more years than not, and we're not wasting our controlled years on those young pitchers. We're gonna capitalize on how good those guys will be. We could trade one of those guys and get a bat and get a third baseman, but we decided to keep those guys.
Yeah, good thing we kept Miller and Wu around. That's going to be awesome. I'm super stoked for our whole pitching staff this season. Mm-hmm. Speaking of pitchers, there's a couple more trades to go over. We traded Prelander Baroa, one of our, big hopefuls, as well as Zach DeLoach to the White Sox, and we got right-handed pitcher Gregory Santos, and that guy throws gas.
Yes, he does. He's come through with a little bit of soreness early, but it's not SOG. It's not a soggy arm. So
Clear that up right now. No SOG. Don't throw speculations out there.
Sounds
Zero
like
SOG.
SOG, guys.
No, don't bring that word out.
But
It's not the name.
But, and also that's just to be expected, early season spring training. I mean, literally spring training has just started. So some guys' arms are going to get a little tight. They're going to get a little tired. We only just hope that they don't get soggy.
I threw a towel across the room the other day into the hamper, and my arm was a little sore after that. It's that time of year to be expected, Little arm soreness is fine.
Gregory Santos is nasty. He's been around for a couple years. His stats aren't jumping off the page or anything, but he had a 3.39 ERA in 60 games. He 66 innings, 66 strikeouts, 69 hits, which we don't like. He's kind of given up too many hits, but at the same time, he's striking out a lot of dudes. And his ERA plus 132, better than league average. His FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, meaning like what he's doing rather than like how the defense behind him is performing. He's got a 2.65 FIP. So, I mean, on an average fielding team, his ERA should be 2.65 according to that type of calculation. Because the White Sox were not an average fielding team last year. So the defense behind him was giving up way too many runs for the pitch profile that he was putting out there, basically, is what that says. A 9.0 strikeout per 9. So he's striking out some dudes. 1 per inning. That's amazing. This dude is going to be a really good third piece to the back end of our bullpen. We couldn't rely on Brash and Munoz for everything. I think Gregory Santos is a big piece for us. He can really hold it down late in games when we need him, and he's just needs to take another step forward. He's only a few years into the league, and he's exciting. So yep. I'm stoked.
I feel like he's the step where if you don't have a lead on the 2024 Seattle Mariners after or going into the 6th inning, I feel like, you're done. Like, you have to have a lead on us by that 6th, 7th inning, because do you want to face Santos, Munoz, Brash in some kind of combination for the last 3 innings? Probably not. I mean, it's not looking good for you, dude. I'm sorry.
That's a difficult last 3 innings.
Not to mention Carlos Vargas throws 100 too. So like,
new up and coming dude too. And with relievers being finicky, like Prelander Barreau was supposed to be one of the future guys, but they're so finicky that I'm fine parting ways with like that top reliever prospect for a proven MLB reliever proven for 3 years now with the White Sox. He was top dude for them.
Yeah, he's really made his way into a solid piece in the back end of a bullpen. And the Mariners just keep doing that, right? Keep picking up those pieces. We picked up guys like Jackson Kowar. We picked up guys like Austin Voth. And those are guys that got released or DFA'd from other teams, and the Mariners end up picking up, or we pick them up in trades for like low-value trades. And those are arms that the Mariners think they can do something with, which is what our strength is. And no matter how many teams or fan bases say that, like, I think the Mariners have proven that they're able to do that better than most teams, just like the Rays do. They'll take in anyone who got DFA'd and make them. The Mariners too. This is what these teams do: is they say, this is your strength, this is your weakness. Like, this is what gets hit the most. So we're not going to throw that. We're going to throw more of this, and we're going to make it nastier. And they play to their strengths. And once they start, once their movement and their rotation, everything starts dipping, is when they move on from those players. They play to their strengths, use them up, and once those things start going away, they're like, okay, who wants this guy that's been really good that's not going to be good in the next 6 months? Like, they're really smart about their analytics, and they know when to move on from a guy. And I think the Mariners are turning into that type of a team, like the Rays. And it is it's an arm factory over here right now.
Yeah, another one from our lab that I'm excited about is Emerson Hancock, former first, second round high draft pick, high prospect. Came up last year for us, pitched 12 innings across 2 starts or whatever. Went down with a Tommy John injury,
No, it was just like a lat and shoulder strain.
a lat strain. So yeah,
he did manage to avoid the Tommy John surgery, but still it was an injury severe enough that it sidelined him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they didn't want to take a risk and have him come back and pitch late September when we need him the most. They were hoping to kind of ramp him up there, but
yeah. Long story short, another one of our up and coming pitchers that someday probably going to be a starter for us if all pans out. If
honestly,
not, top prospect.
Honestly, he should be set to make his debut right, like this year. Like he's about the age where he should be. He's probably going to start in Double-A this year, and that's where they really farm pitching these days is in Double-A.
Those Modesto Nuts, man, they're good.
They are.
What a good team name. I'm so happy that that's part of our...
Well, let's get some hats. Organization. Yeah, we need Modesto Nuts hats and stickers and shit.
Okay, let me run through another one or two very final ones here. So kind of a nothing, no big deal one unless we really want to talk about it, but we traded Jose Caballero to the Rays and got Luke Raley.
Luke Raley is a nice pickup.
That's a guy.
For a guy who had completely eliminated all contribution to this team. Caballero at the end was dog water. He was trash. He was garbage.
We
There's
were
no way to
hyping him
sugarcoat.
up. We were so happy because he's pesky. He's annoying to pitchers. He was causing a real problem on the base path.
He
At the
was
end of the
fun
day, he
for a
was
while.
nothing. At
Yeah,
the end
he
of the
was.
day, he was nothing more than a off the bench player, a pinch hitter,
Yeah,
pinch runner.
That's what he ended
like,
up being.
Unfortunately,
bummer.
last year he had to turn into like kind of an everyday starter second baseman, and that's just the state our team was at last year. I mean, that's never really who he was going to be. It was an everyday guy.
Well, the start of his season was hot. He was putting up great at bats, and last year with the pitch clock being new, he was the first player to really take advantage of that.
Pitch clock specialist.
He was. He knew how to mess with pitchers' timings. He knew when to call strategic timeouts at the plate. And he really got into these pitchers' heads. He was messing with them. They were hating him. And it was fun to watch. We kind of liked having this pesky guy on the team.
He could steal bases. He was quick.
Yeah,
He had a couple things going for him, and then just nothing.
And then
after that.
he just fell off a cliff and just became detrimental to the team.
He was playing a game that the pitchers weren't yet. He was a clock specialist, the pitch clock specialist. He knew what to do, how to get in their heads. He was playing a different game. And then once the league caught up to him and figured out his weaknesses, he got exposed really hard. And then
Yes.
he was just an extra guy for us, and wasn't putting up any numbers, hitting under 200, bad for a while.
So I'm not that bummed that Caballero is gone, but we did acquire Luke Raley, and that's awesome.
That's
Yes.
really awesome.
Yeah, I think that is a phenomenal trade for the Mariners, especially at the end. Cabs was pretty much just a pinch runner or a random guy to come in late in games. And I remember last year.
Yeah, even as a pinch runner, he fell off, man.
Well, that was the thing. Last year, we all started off highly on Cabs. We really liked what he was doing. And then it was regressing and regressing and regressing. And then it got to the point where literally he was just like a pinch runner. And I remember the game, he came in as a pinch runner late in the game and immediately got picked off. And it's like, okay, that was literally your last value to the team. And you can't even do that shit now. You need to go. So the fact that we got anything for Cabs other than a middle finger and a no thanks is a phenomenal win. I cannot believe that we got a player for him and a good one.
Is that really the deal? We straight up Cabs for Luke Raley?
Yes, sir.
Yep. I'm
Wow.
a little bit excited about Luke Raley too.
Me too.
What
Yeah,
did
I
the
don't-
Rays see in Caballero that they're giving up a left-handed outfielder with some slug?
Dude, I don't know what's
I'm-
going on.
I'm excited
but
to
that's
see
how
what
it
he's
shook
got,
out.
though.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah.
I like giving him the everyday starts in left field for a little bit, beginning of the season, see how it works out. Maybe there will be some kind of battle between him and Dom Canzone for the starting left field spot. I mean,
This is a good thing.
Yes.
I don't hate either way that could go, giving them whichever one wins the starting job, give them the first month's worth of starting left field ABs.
Luke Raley last year with the Rays played 118 games.
Okay.
And right field, DH, left field, center field, mostly right and left field. He's a corner outfielder and a hitter. He's a left-handed hitter, which we have a few left-handed outfielders now. So we have Dom Canzone, Luke Raley, Cade Marlowe, and Taylor Trammell. And I think Luke Raley comes out at the top of that list as our starting left fielder. The dude can slug. He hit 19 home runs, which is awesome. He only had 406 plate appearances, 89 hits, 19 of them were home runs, which
That's
is awesome.
that's what's crazy.
So he has a little bit of swing and miss, though, like 128 strikeouts during that time, too. But his OPS plus 126. He's producing offensively. He was hit by pitch 18 times, so that adds into our
Oh.
Ty France.
Put him in the
side.
Ty
Just
France category.
And he's
imagine if
left-handed.
those were home runs.
Yeah. So we're gonna have Ty France getting hit by pitch on the right side, and Luke Raley getting hit by pitch on the left side. We're gonna work on our OBP that way. It looks like he steals some bases. Yeah, he's fast. He's an outfielder. He's 28 years old, and I think this dude fits right perfectly with the Mariners and what they're trying to do. With him, Garver, Polanco, I mean that packs more of a punch than like Suarez, but Teoscar was hot and cold. He had a hot month, but we need someone who's more consistent than that. And I think that's what we've got is a lot more consistency than we have had in the past year.
The thing about Teoscar is that it's not that he was hot and cold. It's that he was cold, and then hot, hot.
Super hot,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
cold
hot
again.
for 1 month. It was
He had
the
a hot
month where
June
yeah,
or
where
July, one of them.
August, I think. It was when
Yeah.
they
Well-
Julio and Teoscar
Good
went
for
off.
him. He's going to get a ring this year. He's on the Dodgers now.
Yeah, lucky
So-
duck.
Yeah, lucky
Dodgers
guy.
going to win 125 games and lose in the first round of the playoffs.
That's
Like
exactly
they
that's
always
the
do.
Dodger way, baby.
That's exactly how they drew it up.
Los Dodgers.
So the last one I'm really excited about is that we got Samad Taylor from the Royals for a player to be named later. I'm hyped on Samad Taylor right now.
Hit a home run in the first spring training game.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
It was a bomb.
And also, it was crazy. It did not look like he hit the ball that hard. Like, I watched the replay of it because I listened to the game on the radio and just like on Twitter watching the replay. And it looked like kind of a limp pop of kind of off the top of the bat. And he had enough strength that it carried out, and by a good measure.
The Arizona wind is swirling. He got it high enough that
Yeah.
it just
yeah, let's
caught
see
up
how
there.
that carries at T-Mob. But
Yeah,
We'll see.
I like
No
him, though.
marine lair in Arizona.
But why pay for a guy like Juan Soto when you can just get Samad Taylor for basically free?
Oh, Nate. I like Samad Taylor.
Not to poo-poo on your spot, but
No, go ahead.
Now we definitely were mentioning Juan Soto as a Mariners target during this offseason, but obviously those were all those guys are so far in the distance. Even a Cody Bellinger who would fit our team pretty well is still so far in the distance for a team like us. And like picking up all these pieces to work in our lineup is cool, man. I kind of like the ragtag group that they put together rather than spending a shit ton of money or trading all of our big prospects to get something, because we still have really good prospects coming up in the next couple of years. Cole Young's an infielder who I think he's our like number 1 or 2 prospect right now that looks fucking amazing, dude. Like we have other dudes still
Harry
coming
Ford.
up. Harry Ford's still coming up. Yeah, we have a lot of
kind of
dudes.
bringing back our 2022 like scrappy kind of vibes, make the playoffs kind of vibes and, go crazy in the playoffs, maybe win a few series in the playoffs rather than, yeah, last year pieced together, big signings that on paper should have produced, didn't work out. This might be another team that can kind of scrap together a weird amount of wins. I'm not going to throw any projections out there yet, but,
Yeah, on paper it doesn't look like they're gonna blow anybody out of the water, but I think they're a sneaky, scrappy team, and I really like it. It's more consistent and flat than it has ever been. Like we know what to expect from a team that's built this way. In my opinion, there's less moving pieces, there's more consistency, so we're gonna be able to actually see the trajectory of what this team is able to do earlier than usual because hopefully we won't be calling to DFA players that we just signed by, the end of May, like Colton Wong-esque players. Like, we didn't do that this year. And, Jonathan Clase, Cole Young, all these prospects coming up are making our window towards like 27 and 28 look really good. After these couple years, we signed up some players for a few years, and all the way through 26, 27 is when those players are going to be here. And really, like, our team's going to keep looking different and young and exciting for the next 3 or 4 years because we didn't trade from all of our prospect capital. I think it's going to make a young core happen. It's later than we wanted to. The window keeps moving. But there is a path that's way more clear than it has been in the past, in my opinion. When
I'm stopping our window, like I'm not moving it further anymore. Our
right when
now
JP
through 2026, 27.
The end of JP's contract is when our window ends.
Yeah,
and a lot of like what we're saying is like of the more consistency of our roster and stuff this year. I will admit that early and halfway through this offseason, I was just as guilty of being like, oh, they're not trying to win. They didn't spend the big bucks and stuff like that. But we just have to accept that the Mariners are never going to do that. They're never going to sign a free agent to a 10-year, $7 billion deal. They're never going to do that.
Not with Stanton running the show.
Yeah. But that being said, when you look at the holes in our roster last year compared to what we have this year, they have done the right steps. I am more confident in this group this year than what we had last year. I mean, literally last year, our spring training episodes, we had to talk with our fingers crossed, hoping that LaStella and Pollock were going to bring it back, and they were just all of a sudden going to find the fountain of youth and be good again.
We were reaching so hard to
Colton Wong's
find
a
the good
second
parts
baseman.
of that.
Yeah. We had to put a spin on it because, again, part of our Sogcast is even when everything is bleak and dark, we try not to be doom and gloom. We try not to say, oh, this team sucks. Oh, and but we do try to be realistic as well. And last year, we had to try our damnedest to put a realistic hope into hoping that LaStella and Pollock were going to be major league caliber players.
The beginning of the season was a roller coaster for us, man. The first few months with those guys playing every day, with Wong and LaStella DHing and Pollock hitting under 200, that was hard times, man.
And we would have to have our pre-episode meetings, which we do before we press record, and be like, yes, this looks bad, but we can't be doom and gloom. Like, how can we at least try to find like a silver lining of it? And it was hard, and we did our best, but the writing was on the wall that team was not going to perform. This year, I don't feel like we're bullshitting. Is it the best roster in baseball? No, it's not. But if we...
Is it better than last year? Yes.
It is better than last year.
I feel a lot more confident.
And we have a top... And the top rotation in baseball is no bullshit.
The tide is rising here.
It is. And realistically, our holes have been stuffed. But second base is going to be a question mark, like with
Third
how
base,
good,
a bit of a question mark
with how good they'll be. But we have consistent players. And that's all I asked for. Because last year, even when things were going
Platooning
well,
4 positions is not that cool.
we were platooning so much, and it was just a revolving door of who's playing this day, and it was bullshit. It was bullshit.
Yep.
So this year, everyday DH, everyday second baseman for the most part. We'll probably platoon a little bit at second base, maybe.
Yeah.
And right field, realistically. So, and most teams platoon a corner outfielder. It was last year when we were platooning second base from the start of the season. That is not a good squad to have. That's not a playoff caliber team.
I would have
And
rather signed up Adam Frazier for another year. He ended up killing it for the
sucked.
fucking Orioles.
Yeah, he went to the Orioles and had a great
Dude.
season.
Yeah, that was tough to watch and tough to do day in and day out.
Athens, Georgia.
So the holes have been filled. We have realistic expectations of this team. The Mariners do play in a tough division, but we have a top starting rotation, and the biggest gaps have been filled. We didn't sign a veteran nobody to $9 million. I mean, the fact that last year we signed AJ Pollock to the same amount of money we could have kept Carlos Santana was ridiculous and a dumb ass move. We didn't do that this year, and I was harsh in the offseason, but realistically, the moves the Mariners can make with Stanton at the helm and Dipoto trying to wheel and deal, I like where this roster is at. We need to come out hot and have a good start to the season, because that's always the Mariners' biggest problem. They start really, really slow. If they're just serviceable in the first couple months of the season, I like where this roster can take us. I like where this season is headed on paper. You got to play the games, but I'm happy with the team this year. I'm so looking forward to this.
When I look at this team compared to the team last year, I'm not as concerned about a slow start. Absolutely not. This team it's just more put together. It's not so all over the place. There's not as many maybes. There's no Jared Kelenic. There's no, we have guys like Cade Marlowe and Taylor Trammell, but we know what kind of roles they're going to play. They're not going to be in our lineup every time there's a right-handed pitcher, like they could be. They're good pieces to steal bases. They're good defense pieces. But we have Julio Rodriguez, Mitch Haniger, Dominic Canzone, Luke Raley. We got all these dudes in the outfield that can hit the ball. Our infield is put together. Platooning one or two positions is fine. One infield position and one outfield position, great. And you can rotate dudes into the DH spot, even though we have an everyday DH now, which is amazing. So now everyone can get their regular rest. Polanco, we can keep Polanco healthy because we have Dylan Moore, we have Sam Haggerty, we have Josh Rojas and Luis Urias who can move around. We have to figure out who's gonna be our everyday third baseman, but second and third base are gonna be platoon-ish, like third base for sure, left field for sure. But then second base is kind of that third position where we could move them if we want. Polanco could DH if Garver wants a day off. And if we want to go more defense heavy in the field, we just move Polanco to the DH spot and let Garver sit a day, because Polanco's a switch hitter and Garver's a right-handed hitter. If we wanted to platoon a little bit or play to a right or left-handed pitcher, we don't have to move as many pieces. We don't have to be as finicky and detailed with our mini little moves on when we're going to pinch run and who's going to move to what position, because there's way more established position players. Everyone's ready. Everyone's there and set in their spot. It's not a revolving door, and I love that about this team. I'm glad that the front office was able to finagle their way into putting together a half-decent team without signing anyone for a ridiculous amount or trading away a ton of our prospect capital.
Yeah, whatever, dude. There's plenty of season left. Let's put 73 guys on the field again.
No, they're gonna start off hot, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not worried. Like they're gonna start off playing the type of baseball they're gonna play all year.
Well, Sogcast fans, We are so happy to be doing another season. We've caught you all up to date with the biggest acquisitions.
Yeah, and my boy Ty France, by the way, he went to Driveline. He lost some weight. He's looking good. My boy Ty is gonna come out and slap. Anyway, yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
That's next week, man.
Yeah, that is next week.
Just a teaser.
Yeah. Well, Sogcast fans, thank you so much for listening to this. We've been so happy to start another season with you guys. We've caught you all up on the biggest comings and goings of the off season. We're really looking forward to what this season has in store. Next week, we're definitely going to touch up on more of our core starters and what we expect and more realistic expectations for this team as a whole, and we will get into some of the front office stuff. This episode, we really just wanted to keep you up to date and informed on what the roster is this year and what we're looking forward to for opening day. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be doing this and to be with you guys again and sharing all this information with our amazing fans.
We would also love it if you tell your friends that we are back. We're going to be back every week talking about the Mariners. I know there's other podcasts out there, but I mean, we're the best. So tell your friends. We want to spread the word. We love the Mariners more than anything, and we are ready for this season just as much as every fan and the team.
We're so looking forward to it. Thank you guys all for listening. We love you so much. And again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Feel free to message any one of us if there's topics you want us to talk about and discuss on the pod. We're more than happy to take any requests from our fans. Thank you so much. And we will be back next week with more information and to make you the most informed fan base in all of baseball. Thank you all, and go Mariners!